All right, we're going to do a chapter 1 review. Very likely this might take 2 videos because the limitation of the video is 15 minutes. So we'll just work our way through it and see. Okay, on section 1.1, we talked about using math to help you in problem solving in life, and it helps you develop techniques. Normally when you go to solve a problem in math, you first explore the problem to see what kind of math would be required of it. Then you make a plan for how to solve it. Then you solve it. And then once you get an answer, you figure out whether the answer makes sense in the problem. So, for example, if they were to ask you to find the next 3 terms in this series of numbers, I would explore, knowing I needed to find the next 3. I would make a plan. Well, the plan would be to look to see if there's a common number that I have added, multiplied, subtracted between these. And it looks like if you follow the pattern, I add 4 in between each number. So therefore, when I add 4 here, I get a 29. 4 more would give me a 33, and 4 more after that would give me a 37. So that then I look and I go, oh, does that seem to fit the pattern? And it does. So I continue on. Let me do the next one. You have 88, 86, 84, 82, 80. Continuing the pattern would be 78, 76, and 74. Notice that I've gone down by 2 each time. This last one on here, it looks like what I'm doing is I'm doubling it. So when I double 3, I get 6. When I double 6, I get 12. When I double 12, I get 24. 24 doubled is going to give me a 48. 48 doubled is going to give me a 96. 96 doubled is going to give me a 192. And so you're going to have to be able to look at terms in a series and figure out how to continue that series by finding either the next term or the next 3 terms. You also need to be able to do it with like geometric figures. Let's say I have a triangle and I have a dot. And then I have a triangle and I have a dot. And then I have a triangle and I have a dot. You would assume, continuing the pattern, that your next one, the dot would be over here because the dot's making its way around the circle. So you got to do that with geometric shapes or with numbers. Just try to figure out the pattern and continue it. Section 1.2 was about numbers and expressions. And we have to be able to evaluate or get an answer for numerical expressions using the proper order of operations. We call that, please excuse my dear Aunt Sal, parentheses, exponents. Then I put multiplication and division from left to right. And then I put addition and subtraction from left to right. So let's do a few of these. Obviously on this one, I have to do the multiplication and division first. So I go 2 times 8, which is 16, and I'm going to add 4 to it. So the answer for this one should be 20. Over here, I've got to do the parentheses first. So I have 100 divided by, when I do the parentheses, I have 25 times 6. So now I go from left to right. I have 100 divided by 25, which is 4, and 4 times 6 is going to give me an answer of 24. On this one, I got to do the parentheses, so I have 4 times 2 plus 6 times 2, which I'll go ahead and do that as 12, but I got to multiply those 2 together first, so I have 8 plus 12, which is going to give me 20. This one has several things going on, but we need to do all our multiplication and division first. So I have this, and I have this, and I have this. So I have 2 plus 24 minus 15 plus 12. So I have 2 plus 24, which is a 26, minus 15 is 11, and 11 plus 12 would give me a 23. So make sure you can follow the please excuse my dear Aunt Sal. You also have to be able to write numerical expressions from a verbal expression. Like a verbal expression is how you write. So 31 increased by 14 would be 31 plus 14. The sum, a sum means addition, of 74 and 12 would be 74 plus 12. Quotient is your division problem, so it's the quotient of 99 and 3, which would be 99 divided by 3. Now sometimes they'll want you to actually solve these, so you'd have to then go back and do the math on these. So that's going to give me an 86, and that's going to give me a 33. So just be aware that sometimes they ask for that. Section 1.3. We talked about variables and expression. Remember, variable is a letter that serves as a placeholder for a number. So it stands for a number. So you have to be able to evaluate an expression by replacing the letters with the numbers. So here it tells me that A is equal to 5, B is equal to 12, and C is equal to 4. So I'm going to substitute the numbers in. It's almost like those variables are like codes. So I have 12 plus 16, which is going to give me 28. Here I would have 18, and don't forget you have to do order of operations. So the 3 times the 4 has to be multiplied first. So you have 18 minus 12, which is going to give you 6. Here you have 2b divided by 8. So 2 times 12 divided by 8. So I have, if you will, 24 divided by 8, which is going to give me 3. Obviously, you need to brush up on all your multiplication facts too. Here you have a 5 times a 5, because A is equal to 5, minus, parenthesis, 12 minus 4. So I can do my parentheses first. 5 times 5 minus 8. And then I have to do my multiplication. So I have a 25 minus 8, which is going to give me a 17 as an answer. You have to be able to translate the phrase into an algebraic expression. So if I say 6 times a number minus 11, I can choose any letter I want to put in here. So I can say 6x, and I let x be the same thing as what the number is, minus 11. The product is multiplication, so 800 and a number, we'll just call it 800x. If you don't see a multiplication, there's an understood little dot right there, but you don't have to put it. Okay, then you have this one, 5 times the sum. Anytime you see that word sum, you're looking for the next two things. So 5 times what I get when I add the next two things together. So that would be 3 plus x. So that would have to be inside the parentheses. Section 1.4 has to do with properties. You need to know these, understand how they are represented. The commutative property of addition means you can switch the order. So I could say 3 plus 5 is equal to 5 plus 3. Remember, communication is a two-way street. So this person communicates to that person, then that person communicates back to them. So commutative property, the order always changes. Commutative property of multiplication, same thing. 3 times 5 is equal to 5 times 3. Associative property of addition has to do with who associates together. So the order does not change. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 1 plus 2 plus 3. but what changes is who associates together first. On the left side, the 1 and 2 associate first. On the right side, the 2 and 3 can associate first, and it doesn't change the answer to your problem. So as long as it's addition, you can change the group that is added together first. Same thing is true with multiplication. 1 times 2 times 3 is the same as 1 times 2 times 3. Notice how what happens on associative property is your parentheses change. On commutative, the order changes. Then you have that additive identity property. Remember, a number wants to keep its identity. So 15 is partial to its name. Doesn't want to change its name, but you have to add something to it. So I add a 0 to it, which is not going to affect the 15 at all. It's going to keep its identity. On multiplicative identity, you would multiply the 15 by a 1, and he would still be able to keep his identity. The multiplicative property of 0, anything times 0 equals 0. So you need to be able to look at something and tell which property is represented by it. Like 55 plus 0 is equal to 0 plus 55. That is the commutative property of addition, because we change the order from one side of the equation to the other. 14 times 1 equals 14. The 14 kept its identity, so this is the identity property of multiplication, because that's what's going on right here is multiplication. The commutative property of addition, because addition is going on in the problem. All right, the other thing you have to do is be able to simplify algebraic equations by adding like terms together. So I have an m plus an 11 plus a 19. So I can combine my 11 and 19. I can't do anything with the m. I don't have anything that is like the m. So I have a m plus 30. Down here, I can multiply the 4 and the 5 together, which is going to give me a 20 times r. Can't do anything else with that r except for put it right there. Section 1.5, I have variables and equations. And so you're going to have to be able to choose a correct answer looking at the problems. They gave you 3 to choose from. You could actually plug them back in for the variable to figure out which one works. The first one is relatively simple because if I want an answer of 0, then I need to subtract 25 from 25. Second one, if you know your multiplication facts, you can do that pretty easy because 9 times q is going to give me 72. So the q would have to equal 8. We also learned 2 more properties in section 1.5. Symmetric property means that I change the 2 sides of the equation. So 2 times 5 or 2 times 3 equals 6 is the same as 6 equals 2 times 3. So basically I flip-flop the equations. Transitive property. This was the thing that if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Done out, X equals 4. And let's say 4 equals Y, then I know that X equals Y. Transitive property, you're always going to have a tie between the 2 equations, okay, that is going to be the exact same thing. All right, I'm going to pause this video and then I'll start a new one.